Hello, everyone. I'm Colin Tessier of WrestleZone.com, joined by John Clark tonight. John Clark is back. Went out to see the Pittsburgh Penguins lose yesterday. Unfortunately, John, I'm sorry about that. Hopefully, they hang in there. But other than that, John, how you doing tonight? Before we talk about NXT.
I'm doing great, and I am wearing my new shirt just for the show tonight.
Oh, there you go, John, Merchman John, there with the best shirt WWE's made in quite some time. Repping
Just came in
SmackDown
the
over
mail
on the NXT
yesterday.
here. Nice, very nice. Well, that's for SmackDown, but we're here to talk about NXT. It was a very exciting show. Lots of good stuff here. Great main event, lots of fun stuff to get into. Before we do, just remind you all of this show, like everything we do here at WrestleZone, is available on any number of streaming platforms: SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, whatever it may be. Chances are I've got you covered. So leave a like, subscribe. So John, might as well here not bury the lead. Might as well get right into the meat here and talk about the main event, NXT Championship match between Finn
Finn
Balor and
Cross.
Karrion Kross. Woo. And man, this one, I think for me, if it didn't like surpass their takeover match from that was just last month, it would definitely equaled it. I thought this was great. It was physical. It was really unpredictable. It was this really great clash of these two big stars here, and this was a match I went into it really thinking, all right, Cross is probably not going to lose, but then in the end there, those closing moments especially, I really they got me. I was like, are they going to really give Finn Balor the title back here? Because it looked like it. He was he nearly got the submission win at a couple points. He nearly got a couple of roll ups, and in the end, it was not meant to be. Karrion Kross ultimately did win that match, and I just thought this was a great way to really cement him as this guy that can really hold his own in the ring. Not that I was ever in question, but overall, John, what do you think of this match? And then we get into what it means going forward.
So I definitely agree that this was on par with their first match. And I'll leave it at that because I don't think it was better than their first match, but I do think it was on par with that. Uh, there's something about when a match ends because the ref calls it like for that. There's just something about it that kind of like irks me. It's like I don't like remember in the old days they would like lift their arm and let it go, and if it dropped
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
three times, like
Very Hulk Hogan era kind of thing.
yeah. So if they would have kept like something like that around, it would be okay. But for me, like when the ref just kind of like makes it like in MMA, UFC, like the ref makes a determination, like okay, I'm gonna call the match because I don't think he can go anymore. Like to me, it's more dominant if you win by like pinfall, or even if he would have actually tapped out instead of like passing out. That's completely different for me anyway. And like Craig said, very good show tonight. I mean, the main event was definitely the best part of the show. I thought it was very good, back and forth action. You got Scarlett there ringside getting involved a little bit, but not too much. That was important to note that she wasn't really involved a whole lot, but she was there. So that it's good that they didn't have any kind of interference or goofy ending like that. So nice to see that. And I want to get into a little bit about, like you said, moving forward. So Laura Rock saying, "Who do you see being called up?" Stephen Chambers saying, "Do you guys see him moving to the main roster?" We saw the comments from recent days where Finn Balor said that he did have an interest in coming back to SmackDown and Raw to see, if maybe it would pan out better this time. Hopefully, avoid an injury this time, stuff like that. Um, Part of me does think this was a send off for him. I don't think we're going to see him in NXT anymore. Now that doesn't mean we're going to see him on Raw next week or SmackDown this week. It could be maybe he'll take 2 months off, sort of the pattern that like Edge is doing right now, and it appears that Sasha Banks is maybe doing the same thing. Maybe Balor takes a couple months off. He comes back when the fans are back in the stands again. To me, that'd be perfect. Like Jason Campbell says, I wish him well, but I guess they agreed to mutually part ways. I mean, I don't think that's the case.
He's talking about Adnan Virk, I think. They're
Oh,
talking about
okay,
Adnan Virk,
okay, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
before
Okay,
he sort
fair
of
enough, fair enough.
parted ways there. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, but going back to Finn Balor there, I do think that he will go to SmackDown Raw, but I want to get your take. Do you think he's done in NXT?
I mean, ordinarily I would, but because this is the NXT formula to kind of have someone lose a decisive match like this and this main event kind of style, have him kind of go out with this great performance and then kind of move on. But then we saw Adam Cole lose to Kyle O'Reilly at Takeover, and he hasn't moved up yet. And I think he said on the bump last week that he still wants to be NXT champion again. So it looks like he might be sticking around. So that's why I kind of question whether Balor will be moving up. I have seen those comments that he would potentially want to move back up. I think it's been long enough that he could, and I think that either Raw or SmackDown could use him, and I think that's something a lot of people would want to see. But it's not the kind of thing where I would see it as this definite either, where there could still very well be uses for him in NXT. But for me, I think, you pair. There have been some rumors that some call-ups are coming. Granted, that doesn't mean like all the usual suspects, like a Finn Balor, like an Adam Cole. But I think based on what we saw tonight, a guy like Finn Balor would make a lot of sense. And maybe, to me, maybe he could go to Raw and kind of shake things up there. I think that'd be good. So, and I'd like to see that. I think that would be good for whichever brand he winds up on. And if he stays on NXT, like I said, I think that could be good as well. I'd be curious to see kind of who he might mix it up with next, if that's the case. But I think at this point, my prediction would be sooner rather than later, Balor will probably go back to the main roster. And as for Kross, we can kind of generally guess at maybe some future opponents, but we do know next week there will be a triple threat match to determine his contender for the In Your House Takeover pay-per-view. It's going to be Johnny Gargano, Pete Dunne, and Kyle O'Reilly. Very much, probably the top three guys that, probably deserve to challenge for the title at this point. And, they made that announcement. I'm like, that's going to be a great match. No matter who wins, I think that's just going to really be fantastic either way. Gargano, O'Reilly, and Dunne, they've been having great matches for quite a while now. I've got to think it might be O'Reilly at this point. They've been building Dunne up a little bit, but you kind of contrast that to Kyle O'Reilly, and Kyle's been really... He won that feud with Adam Cole. He really held his own with Finn Balor when he challenged for the title back then. So I think that would make the most sense to me, especially given that that match will be next week, and then In Your House I think is the 13th. So that's not a whole lot of time to really build up a story from there. But we've already seen some hints at Kross and O'Reilly. What would you think of that? Who might win that triple threat match, John?
I definitely think Kyle O'Reilly's the favorite. I feel like they stuck Johnny Gargano in there just because like he can always have a good match. But storyline wise, it's a little confusing to me because it's like Gargano and Regal have had this beef for like 3 months, and all of a sudden Gargano drops the belt and Regal's like, "I'm putting Johnny Gargano in a number one contender match for the title." Like, to me, that's just like a little, I know Steven Chambers says he's predicting Gargano wins. To me, it wouldn't make sense, being that they're both kind of like the two strongest heels on NXT, really. Kyle O'Reilly, people might consider him one of the strongest baby faces. In recent weeks, it appears he has finally ditched the Orange Cassidy knockoff thing. At least
Cool
that's
Kyle, cool with a K.
yeah. So I got the impression that he's going back to his own thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, to wrap that prediction up, I do think that it'll be Kyle O'Reilly, but I want to make it clear that I don't think he's going to beat Karrion Kross. I don't think
No.
there's any way that's going to happen. But
Kross
it's
held the title
interesting.
for a
It's
while.
interesting, nevertheless, that O'Reilly gets into the match tonight. You're kind of looking for him, like, well, where's Kyle O'Reilly? Johnny Gargano, he gets into this match, and you're kind of thinking, well, where's Johnny Gargano tonight? And then Pete Dunne is in the match, and he was there tonight against Bobby Fish. And what did you think of that? The result, the way
Segue.
the match went.
Perfect segue here. We saw this match. It was good. It was physical. And I think I said it last week when they announced this match. It was like, hey, this is a good chance to see Bobby Fish in this new light as a singles guy. He's been a tag team. I hate to say tag team specialist, but that's really been his role in WWE and NXT, even dating back to Ring of Honor. That's how I remember him. I think I don't think that's too crazy to say. I mean, he has had a lot of success as a tag team guy. So, but here, good match with Pete Dunne. It would have been very surprising if Pete Dunne lost this match, especially in hindsight. Now that we know that there's a triple threat match. But I thought Bobby Fish really they made him, look like a legitimate singles competitor. I like that. Pete Dunne, if you're in the ring with him, hide your fingers. He's just going to stomp him every time. I just like, ooh, man, that stuff looks painful. And both he and whoever he's in the ring with always just do a really good job of like selling just how painful that looks. For me, the good match, good that Pete Dunne picked up this win. Good job for Bobby Fish looking like a legitimate competitor. But after the match, Oney Lorcan attacks Bobby Fish. Kyle O'Reilly does not show up. And John, I'm thinking, why in the world wouldn't Kyle O'Reilly come out here? I know they established, okay, Fish and O'Reilly are going to go their separate ways. that means they're not going to tag team anymore. That doesn't mean you can't save your friend, your tag team partner of years upon years. Your riding mate. This guy that your ride or die buddy. Uh, just let him get beaten up, and it looks like they may even have done like this injury angles, like Lorcan like kind of wrench Fish's already injured arm. That kind of took me out of it a little bit, where I'm like, this made no sense. Like, because again, I know that we're establishing they're kind of trying to build them both up as singles guys now, and that's fine. It's great, but still, they're still friends. They can still help each other out, right?
Absolutely. I'm not necessarily upset that that's what happened, but I think it was definitely interesting that those because I don't think Gargano was on the show tonight either, right?
Nope.
So that's two of the three that were absent, leading into a pretty big match next week that they're building as probably the main event.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, a little surprising.
And I agree about that, and that's why I had a problem with it. But it's hard to with this triple threat match, like you said about Kyle O'Reilly probably not going to beat Karrion Kross. And I would say that's true of anybody in this match, and kind of that's what Herman Takara is saying. No one here is beating Kross, but he's saying, hey, maybe send Keith Lee back to NXT, have him challenge Kross. There's a little history there. Lee lost the title to Kross back at Takeover 30 in August. Of course, Kross had to relinquish it. So
Hmm.
that'd be something. Obviously we don't really know what's going on with Keith Lee, but that could be something. I think I'd like to see that. But at least what we know we're going to get, I think I would definitely put my money on Kyle O'Reilly and Karrion Kross for the pay-per-view, and I think that'll be a great match, and with presumably even Kross winning. I think we saw at night. Usually, if I enter a match feeling pretty sure of the result, takes me out of it. Tonight they brought me in anyway. They made me suspend my disbelief, and that's all I asked for. Just make me doubt a little bit. So I like that, and I expect to see that at the Takeover pay per view, regardless of who wins this match. Even I would assume it would be O'Reilly. So I think that'll be a great match. I'm looking forward to talking about that next week. But still in this week, we got to see the in-ring debut, the world premiere of Frankie Monet. Man, she is gonna be she's already a star. We know that. I think Wade Barrett said in the commentary, she is a household name. And that is true, right? She's had a lot of success, and they made her feel like this big deal, as they should. She had this great entrance. She's been kind of slowly getting integrated into the NXT brand here, with a couple popping up here and there. But this is their first match. She faced Cora Jade, and not to say this needed to be a squash match, and it was a decisive win. But like, to me, Frankie Monet, just we can kind of skip this slow process of like kind of slowly building her up here, just kind of quickly get her going here. I like this match. It was good, but for me, I am biased. I just want to see Frankie Monet immediately, kind of get fast tracked, not only to the NXT title picture, but obviously even beyond that. But overall, he's staying in the moment here. What did you think of this in-ring debut for Frankie Monet, John?
Yeah, it was a pretty good match. Like you said, dominant looking, and it makes me wonder if you know if they have an idea of where they're going with her. Like since she started, have they known? Okay, this is where you're going to get to, but we're going to take your time getting there. Or are they like, okay, we're going to have you get a couple dominant wins, but we're not quite sure where we're going after that? We know the Miz is hurt. We know John Morrison is there by himself. There's obviously connection between the two. People are wondering if maybe she would move up. I don't think that's a good idea because she deserves to be wrestling on her own and not, like a backseat type manager type role. So I'd like to see her move up. You know, I'm not in a hurry to see her, suddenly challenge Raquel Gonzalez, but maybe get her into a program with somebody like Saray or
Mhm.
Tony Storm or Xia Li or Mercedes Martinez or somebody that's another household name, shall I say.
Fair enough. It's weird because I think that would make sense, right? To give her a program, and like, yeah, she doesn't have to be fast tracked to the title scene, but it does feel like there's this overwhelming expectation that she will get called up to be, not even necessarily just because of Morrison, but just because that's how big of a star she is. Getting a bunch of comments like that, but Nesha Kurz, even just like I said, staying in the moment, saying that she loves seeing Frank tonight, and a friend of the show, Nando, saying Monet is money. I like that. But then, like I just said, Anthony Manzano saying that it feels like Frankie probably won't stay in NXT for a long time. She may not even get a title shot because she might just get called up sooner rather than later to be on the main roster. But on the flip side, DJ Cassier wondering whether we could see a trade, sending John Morrison to NXT and sending Finn Balor up. I think that's something that could happen. I think WWE should use trades more. I think it's an interesting way to keep things fresh. And at the same time, you don't want to overdo it, but that'd be a pretty a win-win of a trade, I will say.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it. I think Morrison, we were just starting to see what he might be able to do on his own on Raw now that the Miz is out of an injury. But either if it's a couple months down the road, maybe yeah. If it doesn't work out the way we might all want it to, send him on NXT, and
Sure.
you put him with a great roster there and see what he could do with that. I think that would work very well. So I know I like to see that. Something I want to see more of tonight, John. We didn't really get much from Index or The Way, and I thought that was a little disappointing for me. It's always my pretty much consistently my favorite part of the show. All we really got that I can recall was Indy Hartwell kind of walking into this room, seeing all these drawings very clearly from Dexter Lumis, showing that he's heartbroken. One of the drawings, he was like stabbed in the heart. It was a kind of a depiction of last week, the massage table incident. So clearly Dexter Lumis down in the dumps here. And this is all we got for this week, just a little teaser of what's to come. But just when it looked like Indy and Dexter might have been, kind of on the same page here, at least briefly, then we saw last week. And yeah, they're sad, man. A friend of the show at Radiant saying Dexter was heartbroken. I'm here for the soap opera, man. It's great, right? I'm liking this. Johnny Gargano called it a sitcom. What we've seen with The Way, just in general, and now it is a soap opera, romance, heartbreak kind of thing. I'm liking it. It's different in a good way. But you're shaking your head. I don't know if you're on board with it, John.
Yeah, I have an ideal ending for this that I know a lot of people probably aren't going to agree with or like. But just my ideal, and I know NXT doesn't do this kind of stuff, but if you really wanted to make it funny and soap opera-ish and kind of like that, you got to bring in like Jerry Springer or like Maury Povich, and you got to do like something like that, because like this obviously is a scenario that Candace and Johnny and maybe Austin, whoever, but at least Candace doesn't want Indy to be either, doesn't want to lose Indy essentially to Dexter Lumis. On the other hand, Dexter Lumis is like, well, we all know how he feels. We all know how Indy feels. And there's just so much like soap opera, like you said, it's soap opera. And to me, like this is what the non-wrestling people watch, and they just look at it and they're like, how can you watch this? Like, why are you like? And I'm not saying it makes it look bad. I'm just saying that it's what that's what people point out when they're watching this, and they're like, seriously, like that this is like not real, and then you're like, well, your soap operas aren't real either. But like, this is the kind of stuff that sparks debate,
Right.
good and bad both. I'm interested in it like you are. It gets people talking. But I think we know where it's eventually going to end up. I mean, they're obviously going to probably be together. Maybe they'll eventually kiss on TV or something, and it'll be the crowning moment. But or would you like to see them pull a swerve? And where do you want to see this end up? Is my question. What's your end goal here?
My heart says I want to see them end up because I kind of compare it to the Otis and Mandy Rose storyline. Like I'm so on board with just seeing them get together and like having the happy ending and whatever could happen after that. Hopefully better than the Otis Mandy Rose storyline there. But at the same time, my mind is like, hey, maybe do something a little different. Like give us a well executed swerve, not a swerve for swerve's sake, but doing something unexpected.
And
That kind of keeps you guessing.
if they go together and sell merchandise, are you going to buy their merch quicker than I bought my merch with Jimmy Uso?
I mean, a friend of Radiant saying she'll defend Index no matter what, and she's still waiting on that merch. As for me, it takes a lot for me to buy merch because I'm cheap, but I would buy Index merch. I would because that's how into it I am. John, I honestly, I am into this every week. I'm waiting for more. I'm like, give it to me. I need this.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
That's
I
just
want to see. It's like the people that are saying they want to see like a Grimes and DiBiase shirt or something. Like it, I don't
now I
know.
want one of those. Give that to me,
It's
John. Give
just
me.
like those temporary things that are like a story that lasts like 2 months, and then they sell merch to get a rub off of it. And I get that the shirt I'm wearing probably will be irrelevant 2 months from now too, but it serves more purposes than just being a wrestling shirt if you read the front of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get your point, and
Hey,
it's
man.
definitely interesting. And while we're talking about this, we might as well talk about the other soap opera on NXT, which could arguably be Cameron Grimes and Ted DiBiase. Tonight took an unexpected turn for me. I wasn't expecting this. It felt like at first we were going to get Ted DiBiase and Cameron Grimes like lining up with each other.
Yeah,
DiBiase was telling Grimes about something he sees potential in him. They can go far together. And then all of a sudden, LA Knight comes out and he's talking trash to Ted DiBiase. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, they're both heels. This doesn't make any sense to me. And then all of a sudden, it's almost like Cameron Grimes like made a face turn in a way tonight. Like it's interesting. Do you think these two, and by two I mean DiBiase and Grimes, are potentially lining up where we might see DiBiase more often? What do you think?
John, I've got thoughts about this. Like first, from day one, even day like before Eli Drake signed with NXT, loved his work in NWA, and that was I think that was my first like major introduction to him. I was aware of his work otherwise, but I really liked what he did there. Then he signed WWE. Really, I was very excited about that and very hoped that it would do good things. And it's been a little bit of a slow start for him. It comes out here. I'm like this is perfect, right? LA Knight he's got $1 million written all over him, put him into the storyline with $1 million Man, and then yeah, it did seem like we would get Grimes and DiBiase. Like I liked how we got these kind of goofy vignettes. Then you bring out the two guys, and they're just talking heart to heart. You got Cameron Grimes saying, "Hey man, I have money now, and that I learned from you that I can make people like me, because I have money." I thought that was kind of cool, just to add more depth to it. That is like that's something I usually look for. And then DiBiase for his part said, "Hey, like I may give you a hard time, but I see myself in you, and I think that you've got it, but you've lost your focus since you got rich." Good stuff. Then LA Knight comes out, and like you said, it felt like we are getting this kind of pairing of DiBiase and Grimes, and then maybe kind of seeing Grimes with DiBiase against LA Knight. Nope. Then we saw LA Knight, attack Grimes, and DiBiase walk out with LA Knight. So now I'm thinking, no, DiBiase is still or actually let's say DiBiase kind of had been the face of the storyline. Now he's the heel, maybe with LA Knight, and I like that because, like I said, LA Knight he's a $1 million star, right? Like the always that classic saying, he's got $1 million written all over him. And now put him with Ted DiBiase. I think that works. And now I'm kind of predicting that we'll see Grimes and LA Knight face at the pay-per-view for maybe the $1 million title. What say you, John?
Yeah, definitely. As most of you know, on Sunday I had written an article on WrestleZone that basically, thanks to Colin tipped me off on this one from Fightful there, that they're bringing we think they're bringing back this $1 million championship. Uh, Very mixed reactions. A lot of people were saying this is as pointless as the 24/7 title. It has no meaning behind it. It has no prestige behind it. I tend to disagree. When I was playing, and one other thing I gotta say, people were knocking on the design of this spot. I think it looks damn good. I don't have a problem with the way the design of the spot is. Now, granted, who knows if they're going to change it if they bring it back? You
Maybe,
never
yeah.
know. But sticking to the point I'm making, when I used to play the old WWE video games, I always used the $1 million title for something. It's just like it's a cool name. It's like it has meaning. To me, it has meaning behind it, and they have the skills and creativeness. At least I hope to make this relevant, to make this matter, to make this worth something. And I think that would be interesting to bring it into this scenario instead of it being like, on AEW, they have the FTW title that literally serves no
No
purpose at
purpose.
all.
Yeah.
They need to make this title meaningful. And then I'm on board with it then.
And I think at least in the short term, it would have some meaning where it's like this is the title. If this is a thing that happens, DiBiase would kind of bestow it to. It seems like Grimes or LA Knight, and then he's kind of saying like you're the chosen one for this legacy that I have, right? The $1 million legacy. What we said tonight. I think that's just a very easy way to give it that meaning. And Nando, friends from Nando, saying that the $1 million championship has history automatically coming in with it. The 24/7 title is not, so already has that edge on it. That advantage. I like this idea from DJ Tessier. I'm predicting this feud here, but maybe another chapter or another direction they could go. Pair LA Knight and Grimes with DiBiase, managing them, and then make them a modern day Money Inc. I like that idea as well. They could feud and then team. I think that's definitely a possibility. I like to see that. Both guys very talented, and it would be a good way to add some more depth to the tag team division. And we'll get more into the tag team division here, but just want to address a comment here that we were asked who we thought could kind of match up with Karrion Kross here in NXT. You know, we talked about the people that will officially be challenged, potentially challenging him, and after that triple threat match next week. But more maybe in a more just general sense, looking at this roster here, there's Anthony Manzano saying that he doesn't see any of the three in or even not even just the three in the triple threat match, or even Adam Cole as legitimate threats, I guess, based on body size. And of course, we've seen plenty of underdog stories, and that not even underdog, just like talented wrestlers that don't need to have that size. But you know, maybe look for someone a little more physically imposing that could match up with Karrion Kross. I've seen a couple of comments about Bronson Reed potentially kind of getting built up there beyond this North American title run down the road. I think that could be something. I think that'd be a nice, you know, like that comment said, a physical matchup of those two, like imposing, you know, big dudes, right? The big dude matchup. Otherwise, like I struggle to think of anybody that's physically like Karrion Kross, and that speaks to Kross's like just his look, his presence, his size. We mentioned Keith Lee already. If he gets sent back down, but otherwise, I don't know. I mean, NXT, like it felt like at one point just a couple months ago they had a bunch of big guys, and now it's Karrion Kross, Bronson Reed, AJ Francis and Hit Row Records. We'll talk about that, but it is largely kind of a less big, a smaller group of big guys here. So it is something interesting to think about, like how they could build up these guys that maybe don't have that physical size, but that could still hold their own. And I fully expect if Kyle O'Reilly wins next week, he's definitely going to hold his own in the ring with Kross anyway. But definitely food for thought there, and I like that. Some more food for thought. We opened the show tonight. We saw Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai face Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart, and wasn't really sure what to make of this one at just kind of when it started, where I was like, I don't really know where we're going here. Some speculation that we were going to get Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez splitting up and getting a feud there. Instead, by the end of the match, it looks like we might be getting Raquel Gonzalez and Ember Moon, a former NXT Women's Champion, I believe. And that looks like that might be at least the short-term plan for the in-house takeover show, because I think Moon and Shotzi won this match, and then Raquel Gonzalez attacked the two after the match, and she particularly really attacked Shotzi Blackheart, seemingly sending a message to Ember Moon. So I feel like that might be where we're going. If that is the case, Sean, what would you think of that Moon versus Gonzalez?
I'm interested in it because we all know how good Ember was solo before. It appears that they're kind of out of the tag title picture for now anyway. So hey, why not? It makes sense. I just don't want the tag titles to get lost in the mix in this, because it feels like we could be heading down a path where the tag titles slowly get forgotten about at some point.
Yeah,
I hope not, but Ember is definitely, I think, meant to be on her own more than as a tag star. She loves NXT. She admitted that she contemplated retiring before Triple H said, "Hey, come back to NXT." So hey, I don't think she's gonna win, but I'm not as sure about it as I might have been for say Karrion Kross and Kyle O'Reilly.
yeah,
There's a chance that Ember could win. I mean, she's won it before, so.
right.
And don't forget, with Dakota Kai in the mix, anything's possible with a turn or anything like that. So
It's true.
it's definitely intriguing to me.
Yeah, I like that. I like I said, I entered this week not really expecting that, but now that it's on the table, I'm like, hey, that'd be pretty cool. You've got Moon has that championship history. She would be a credible opponent where there would be definitely a chance of an upset, especially with like you said, Dakota Kai being there, potentially kind of swaying the outcome there. Nesha Kurz saying she loves Ember Moon. Ember Moon definitely has a lot of support, just generally speaking. I know that a lot of people do like her work in NXT. Unfortunately, her main roster run did not go nearly as well. Now she's back in NXT, and I think she's had a great team with Shotzi Blackheart. But yeah, I've always kind of thought that the writing would be on the wall that eventually she would be back in the singles title mix, and because that seemed like the case when she returned, and she kind of quickly entered this tag team. So now maybe this will be a good chance to push her back out into the singles title scene. So if that is a match we get, I think that'll be definitely a good one, and I'm curious to see how they kind of go about that. Not to say that like Ember needs can be heated up per se, but it would be a pretty big a big leap to go from that tag title scene up to the Raquel Gonzalez, obviously the face of the women's division in NXT at this point. So I think they could do that pretty easily, where you have the history and Nestor Chris pointed out her injury, obviously derailed her main roster run, and that could definitely be a story. You said, like John just pointed out, she did contemplate retirement, so that's a pretty natural story to kind of quickly churn out before the takeover show here. So I think the takeover show seems like it's starting to get take a little shape here, and I'm liking it so far. And one thing that very well might be on the takeover show is the tag team titles. And I would expect next week we're going to see MSK versus Legado del Fantasma. That's going to be a great match. We saw, I think it was Thatcher and Ciampa versus Legado a couple weeks ago, and that was fantastic. I think that they faced off. Unless I'm mistaken them.
They did.
Okay, it's hard to keep straight sometimes, but they put on a great match. I fully expect MSK and Legado to put on a great match as well. Very, very talented guys. They're both great teams. MSK's they've been killing it this whole time. They've been doing great work. I would definitely expect MSK. Legado has been doing good work so far, and they've been slowly kind of proving that they're not just henchmen to Santos Escobar, that they are this credible team. But for me, I kind of view in very different ways Karrion Kross and MSK as these teams that are going to hold the titles for a while. So I think the Legado will look very good. But I do expect MSK to win the titles. Would you agree with that, John, or do you feel it differently?
Yeah, I agree. There's no doubt in my mind. I don't see why anybody could think differently here.
Yeah. And assuming that is the outcome, we might get kind of a pretty easy transition from that into a three-way match, maybe at the pay-per-view. Phantasma, or maybe not even. I was thinking more of a title match here, but maybe for a contendership, Phantasma, Grizzled Young Veterans, and Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher. We saw kind of. Well, supposedly a simultaneous continuation and ending of the feud between Grizzled Young Veterans and Thatcher and Ciampa. The latter wanted to continue the feud with a round 3. The former Grizzled Young Veterans said, no, we want the titles, so we're done with you. It feels like a triple threat match either for the contendership or for the titles themselves would make sense to kind of be able to have that third round as Thatcher and Ciampa were saying, while without doing just the 2-on-2. I think that'd be something worth exploring. And I think whether it's Phantasma, Grizzled Young Veterans, or MSK, I think again every team here is really doing great work. I think NXT's tag division is very strong. And one thing we got to see tonight was a little tease of Imperium, potentially returning to the tag division here. We got a message from Walter in the video promo, kind of recapping Alexander Wolf's exit from the group and would turn out WWE. And he said, hey, Marcel Barthel and Fabian Eichner lost the tag titles, and he wants them to go get the titles for the brand for Imperium.
Yep.
So now they look like they'll be re-entering the mix as well. So things are looking pretty good in the tag division. And that's one benefit. I think one thing NXT does very well. They've got these, several kind of credible teams, and they've got these matchups they can kind of constantly churn out. Whereas on the main roster, pretty glaring lack of depth in the general tag team division. So hats off to NXT for that one. I do enjoy both the quality of the teams and the quantity. So I definitely do like that. What do you think about this is one development here we got? Walter was in this message here, and he said he said he wanted Imperium to get the tag titles back. But we talked about it last week, and I think now that Alexander Wolf is officially gone, what do we think the future might be with Imperium and Anthony Manzano wondering who might replace Wolf or kind of what the future holds for that?
I don't think anybody will necessarily replace. But I do think that Walter will eventually return as a force to be reckoned with, kind of as that new leader, not new, but like new leader on NXT regularly. And I hope that they can make themselves stay with fans knowing like who they are, because oftentimes the other two that aren't Walter are like, well, who's this? How are they any good? Like people don't care in a way.
Right.
They need to make people care.
And like we were talking about what I was saying with Legado del Fantasma, kind of quickly establishing that they're not just henchmen, that they are putting on these good matches and they can hold their own. So maybe we'll get some more matches with Eichner and Barthel doing the very same thing to prove that they are credible competitors. So that would be my expectation. now that we got this hint that they will be re-entering the tag title mix, and Walter said that he wanted them to start with Breezango because that's who they lost the titles to. So maybe we'll see that sooner rather than later, and I think that'd be a nice little revenge story, assuming they want to have Imperium get back on track here. And you're just saying about Walter, showing up here, and we got some comments about Walter not being on NXT. Neshkur saying let Walter face Kross for the title, and I didn't mention Walter when we got that comment about someone that could match up with Kross in terms of physical size. Yes, Walter is a big dude. But of course, he definitely is a guy that has made clear he doesn't want to move stateside full time. So that does make having him be, especially a main event player on NXT, pretty challenging. It really does feel like they can only kind of bring him in for these special attraction matches. And obviously, Kross versus Walter would be great, but somebody would have to lose, and that's always the problem with a match like that. So that'd be great, but that is definitely a downside, and I'm not sure that they'd want to have either man lose that match. So that would be my thought, where we might see more of Eichner and Barthel, and not necessarily less of Walter, but just more of the same, where he'll pop up here and there to keep him motivated, keep him in line. And I think that's fine. I think that's the best they can do with it at this point. And we've been talking about Imperium. We can talk about another stable. We saw more of Hit Row Records tonight. We got some comments earlier on kind of praising their promo tonight. I know I was a little down on them last week, and I like what they're doing here. At the very least, it's a different presentation. They're cutting this promo backstage, and they've got the lighting, and they've got the swagger. The swagger is not in question. I still don't necessarily approve of, not approve. I'm not digging the if you didn't know, now you know line. Tonight I thought it was kind of funny. I just thought of Road Dogg. If you didn't know, you didn't know. I thought that, especially because Road Dogg is working backstage now. But Anthony Manzano wondering if we might see a new face stable kind of rise up to face Hit Row Records here. Maybe eventually. I think based on what we're really seeing here, I feel like Swerve Scott's gonna. He literally called out Kushida, the cruiserweight champion tonight. That'd be my expectation. We're going to see Cruz and Kushida, maybe even at Takeover, but we will see more of the stable kind of getting its legs under it, getting some picking up some steam, and then maybe down the road when they kind of look unstoppable, and then maybe we could see a face stable. Maybe it'll be the Diamond Mine once we finally figure out whatever in the world that is. But what do you think about Hit Row Records this week, John? Or we're still kind of pretty early into it, but what are your thoughts on it overall at this point?
It's fine for now. I'd like to see where it ends up. As far as another group possibly, making their way to NXT, we have a lot of heel stables, not a lot of babyface stables. I can't think of many guys that would form a stable right now, really, based off of who they have right now on the roster. So it's interesting to see what direction they could potentially go in here, and I think it's really unpredictable where Hit Row ends up.
Yeah, and I think that's very true of a lot of things for NXT tonight. It's interesting to wonder where Hit Row's going to go, where, we've got this triple threat match next week to determine who's going to face Kross. And it feels like that, it's kind of a pretty good bet that O'Reilly will win, but that's definitely not a lock. And then we were talking about earlier, it's unknown what's next for Finn Balor. A lot of question marks in a good way. A lot of stuff to kind of be excited about and be curious about going forward. So for me, both between the in-ring action tonight and some of the things we got, the developments with Karrion Kross and Ted DiBiase and LA Knight, all these things put together, and a great main event that I definitely enjoyed a lot. It was a very good show. For me, I'll probably go for maybe like an 8.3, maybe a little low, but it was a very good show. And I feel confident giving it an 8.3. What do you say, John?
I'll go with 7.75.
What's your reasoning?
Just very good main event there. Some good story developments. I just would like to see them develop more of a direction with the women's tag titles and the women's titles themselves. And just a little bit of an unknown with the North American Championship. I mean, obviously, it looks like we got Santos Escobar there, but I just want to make sure they keep everything relevant. And I'd like to see them, just, I guess maybe, I mean, it's entertaining, but I want to just see a little bit more there, a little bit more entertainment.
I agree. And we're getting some good comments or some good feedback on the show ratings here. Bit Milligan really enjoyed it, giving it a 9.5 That is a very good high score. Nash Karrion with a 7.5. Craig Backlund with 7.9. Steven Chambers with 7.5. DJ Tessier didn't like it so much with a 4.7. And friend of the show, Laura Rock with a 9.4. Another good high score there. So there's some variety here. Oh, Nando saying it was a rock hard 8. Very nice, Nando, giving it a solid score there. No, it was a good show. I liked it. I mean, to me, like I just came out of that main event feeling like so high. I'm like, this is a great match. I liked it a lot. And I admittedly am usually biased, whatever the main event might be. If it's good, I'm feeling pretty good. If it's bad or if the angle's bad, I'm feeling pretty bad. So that's why I was a little down on Raw last night. But here, great main event. I'm feeling pretty darn good. And it looks like Anthony Manzano's feeling good too, given a 9. So, pretty good show tonight. Anthony did wonder about Diamond Mine a little earlier, and as I mentioned it, and it's fair to wonder because it is a kind of a blanket you'll miss a thing, and we even see it tonight. For a couple weeks, we've seen these vignettes of a Diamond Mine, seemingly this new potential stable. I would assume that it's a group or a team of some sort. All we've seen so far is the logo, the name, and these brief video segments that it's like this mixed martial arts cage kind of thing. It feels like it's very much shot like a commercial where it's like people are training and you don't see anybody, so we have no idea who it is, none whatsoever. And there have been some wild guesses as to who it might be. Presumably it'll be some newcomer to NXT. And I don't know who it is. Johnny and I have talked about it. I want to know who it is. I'm tired of sitting here emptily speculating and having no evidence at all. And hopefully, maybe they'll do the big reveal at in your house. That's only a couple weeks from now. So, but I very much just want to get out of the way. I want to know. I'm an impatient person sometimes with this kind of stuff. So, hopefully we'll see that sooner or later. Clearly, it's one of the things that they're hyping it up. So, I'm interested to see how that unfolds, and hopefully we don't have to wait too long. But yes, Nash Kurz, I've got no idea. She doesn't have any idea. Nobody knows what Diamond Mine is, and we will just have to kind of, sit on our thumbs and wait till they tell us, because at this point it is very unclear. If it's, I assume it's a group of some sort. No idea who's in it. And I'm hopeful. We were just talking about all these things to look forward to and be excited about NXT. This could be another one.
Sure.
Hopefully again, I guess there is that valid concern that when you have too many stables, you're going to turn into AW and everybody will be in a stable. But NXT is far and away that's not a concern right now. It's just like they keep bringing in stables, and that is kind of fair. So hopefully they'll do a good job of keeping the stables separate and build them up separately, because that's something AW does very, very well, where each one does have its own identity. So again, hopefully we will see whatever Diamond Mine is be revealed sooner than later, because I do not want to wait very much longer. But to wait, whatever they reveal it, we're going to be here talking about it, because Johnny and I are here every Tuesday talking about NXT. Johnny and I, we also do the Raw post show on Mondays. Robert D. Felice and I cover Friday Night SmackDown on Fridays, so the SmackDown Double Down. We've constantly got a great stream of interviews coming at you guys. Bill Push recently interviewed Eric Redbeard or Eric Rowan. He interviewed Mike Bennett. Constantly this great stream of interviews coming at you guys. The Dynamite dudes I do have your AEW needs met with the I'm blanking the that's the name of the show. It's Marcus and Dominic. They're the Dynamite dudes, and they cover AEW. And they also do WCW written with a lot of fun Facebook and stuff. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe. We appreciate your support always. Thank you for listening. And as always, John, I'm going to say it. We do one thing here at WrestleZone above all others. Can you tell me what that is?
Well, we have a great time watching the wrestling. We enjoy every part of it, and we keep watching week after week after week.
Indeed. Thanks for listening.